Welcome to DS University. Thank you for choosing the Etatron eMP metering pump to be the solution for your water treatment needs. Today, we are troubleshooting the eMP metering pump. The key areas in troubleshooting are 1. All the eMP LEDs are off and the pump is not stroking. 2. The eMP has LEDs lit but there is no function from the controls. 3. The eMP is stroking but not drawing chemistry. 4. The eMP draws chemistry but does not inject. 5. Alarm LED on the eMP is green. 6. Alarm LED on the eMP is red. And 7. The eMP does not run in either program. 1 pulse per 1 gallon or 1 pulse per 10 gallons. In this video, we cover Section B of the troubleshooting documents. This includes Key Area 4. If this area does not apply to your troubleshooting problem, please watch Section A of this troubleshooting series for key areas 1, 2, and 3, or watch Section C for key areas 5, 6, and 7. You can find the videos on our website or at the link in the description below. It's best to troubleshoot in a clean area, but if your Etatron is installed, cover your chemical bucket or stock tank so you don't lose any parts. For this video, you will need a 3mm Allen wrench, diagonal pliers or cutters, small towel, flat blade screwdriver, and a syringe. If you do not have a syringe, you can purchase the syringe kit through Dilution Solutions at 1-800-451-6628 or search syringe kit at dilutionsolutions.com. Part 4. If the eMP draws chemistry but does not inject, you need to 4A. Check the air bleed valve. 4B. Inspect the discharge tubing connections, and injection valve. 4C. Tighten the pump head. 4D. Release airlock from the pump head. If any of the following sections from Part 4 allow for the eMP to inject, you no longer need to keep watching Part 4 of this video. Part 4A. If the eMP draws chemistry but does not inject, check the air bleed valve. It may have been left open after priming. If so, close the air bleed valve now. Part 4B. If the eMP draws chemistry but does not inject, inspect the discharge tubing connections, and injection valve. Locate the injection valve installed in the supply line. Unscrew the tube nut from the injection valve. Remove the nozzle, collar, and tube nut from the end of the tube and set them aside. Do not lose them. Now locate the discharge valve tube nut. Unscrew the tube nut and disconnect the tubing from the discharge valve. Remove the connections and set them aside with the others. Visually inspect the condition of the rigid polyethylene discharge tubing. If the tubing is cracked, old, or broken, then you need to replace it now. You can replace the tubing with the same type left over from the install or rebuild of the unit. Call Dilution Solutions for assistance on the correct replacement tubing. Cut the rigid polyethylene discharge tubing so that it runs comfortably from the discharge valve to the injection valve. Set the remaining tubing aside. If you do not need to replace your tubing, continue with the video to inspect your tubing connections. Look at each end of the tube. If either end is flared, use the diagonal pliers to cut the flared portion off. Set your tubing aside with the connections. Locate and remove the injection valve from the installation saddle or tee. Visually inspect the injection valve for debris. Try to clear the debris with either running water or using a seal pick. If this does not work, call Dilution Solutions to order a new injection valve. Reinstall the injection valve into the installation saddle hand tight. Grab the polyethylene discharge tubing and the injection valve connections you set aside earlier. Slide the tube nut and then the collar back onto the tube, making sure the collar's crown is pointed away from the tube nut. Slide the nozzle back onto the end of the tube's opening. Push the collar and nozzle together as close as possible. Pull the tube nut toward the nozzle to compress the collar and nozzle tight together, forming a ferrule connection. Reattach the tube to the injection valve by hand tightening the tube nut. Do not cross thread nor over tighten. If the tube nut is not securing, recheck the ferrule connection. Retighten the tube nut onto the injection valve. Grab the discharge valve connections you set aside earlier. Reattach the tubing connections back onto the loose end of the tube. Be mindful of their orientation. Push the collar and nozzle together as close as possible. Pull the tube nut toward the nozzle to compress the collar and nozzle tight together, forming a ferrule connection. Reattach the tube onto the discharge valve by hand tightening the tube nut. Do not cross thread nor over tighten. If the tube nut is not securing, recheck the ferrule connection. Retighten the tube nut onto the discharge valve. Be mindful because without proper orientation, air can enter into the system, causing the eMP to not operate correctly. Part 4C. If the eMP draws chemistry but does not inject, tighten the pump head. Over time, the pump head may work itself loose from the pump. To check this, remove the 4 white screw caps on the pump head. This can be done with your finger or a flat blade screwdriver. Set the white screw caps aside and do not lose them. Underneath the caps are 4 pump head screws. Using a 3mm Allen wrench, tighten the 4 pump head screws about 1/8 turn each. It's best to tighten in a crisscross pattern. Finally, reinsert the 4 white screw caps back over the pump head screws. Part 4D. If the eMP draws chemistry but does not inject, release airlock from the pump head. Locate the air bleed valve on the upper left portion of the pump head and open it by turning the valve counterclockwise. Remove the bleed-off tubing from the air bleed barb and set it outside of the chemical bucket. Using the syringe kit, slide the 4mm adapter of the syringe onto the air bleed barb and draw the plunger back. Chemistry should enter the syringe. This may take a couple of tries. If no chemistry enters, call Dilution Solutions for assistance. Eject the chemistry from the syringe into the chemical bucket. Slide the bleed-off tubing back onto the air bleed barb and place the tubing back into the chemical bucket. Now close the air bleed valve by turning it clockwise. Start the eMP and run a few gallons of water through. The eMP should now be injecting the chemistry. We hope this video has been helpful with troubleshooting the 4th key area of your eMP metering pump. For more information, please call us at 1-800-451-6628 or chat with us online at dilutionsolutions.com. This has been DS University. Thanks for watching.